The reflection of the lightning danced on the windows of the Chrysler Building's rooftop office, momentarily illuminating Lucas Bennett's silhouette. His blue-gray eyes were fixed on the storm approaching Manhattan, while his fingers drummed distractedly on the polished mahogany desk. The $50 million contract he had just signed was still on the table, an achievement that should have left him elated. However, something was bothering him, a persistent emptiness that not even the most expensive champagne could fill. "Mr. Bennett, your driver is waiting." The voice of his executive assistant, Regina, sounded over the intercom. Lucas adjusted his Italian tie and reached for his jacket. "That won't be necessary today, Regina. I'm driving." "But sir, the storm—" "Good evening, Regina," he interrupted her, his voice leaving no room for argument. In the mirrored elevator, Lucas looked at his reflection. Just turned 40, not a gray strand in his dark brown hair, an athletic build maintained by regular sessions with his personal trainer, the typical Wall Street titan, and yet, something in his eyes seemed empty. The Aston Martin purred to life as he turned the key. The first heavy drops of the storm were beginning to fall on New York, turning the city lights into watercolored blurs. Instead of following his usual route to his apartment on the Upper East Side, Lucas inexplicably found himself driving towards the Bronx. "What the hell am I doing?" he muttered to himself, but kept driving. The rain was now falling in thick curtains, and the windshield wipers could barely maintain visibility. It was then that he saw them, 3 figures struggling against the storm on the corner of 167th Street. A woman and 2 small children, all drenched, the woman desperately trying to protect the children with her own body. Time seemed to slow down. Lucas's heart skipped a beat, then another. His hands gripped the steering wheel so tightly that his knuckles turned white. That profile, that way of tilting his head. "Anna," he whispered, the name escaping his lips like a long-forgotten prayer. 6 years had passed since he had last seen her. 6 years since he had chosen his ambition over her love. Anna was different, thinner, with shorter hair, but she was unmistakably her. Lucas braked sharply, the car skidding slightly on the wet asphalt. Through the fogged glass, he saw Anna pull the children closer, like a lioness protecting her cubs. The oldest boy, he couldn't have been more than 5 years old, clung to her leg, while she carried a smaller child on her lap. Her fingers found the button to lower the glass before her brain could process the decision. "Anna," he called, his voice almost lost in the roar of the storm. She turned, and their eyes met through the curtain of rain. Recognition flashed across her face like lightning, followed immediately by something Lucas couldn't decipher. Fear, anger, panic. "Please," he said, opening the car door. "Let me help." Anna stepped back, pulling the children with her. The light from a nearby lamppost illuminated her face for a moment, and Lucas saw the worry lines that hadn't been there 6 years ago, the steely determination in her brown eyes. "We don't need your help," she replied, her voice as cold as the rain that drenched them. But the older boy looked up at that moment, and something hit Lucas like a punch in the gut. Those eyes, they were his own eyes looking back at him, the same unmistakable blue-gray that he saw every morning in the mirror. "Mommy," the boy tugged on Anna's soaked sleeve. "I'm cold." Lucas saw the exact moment when Anna's resolve wavered, her maternal instinct fighting against her pride. Another bolt of lightning cut through the sky, followed by the deafening boom of thunder. The smallest child began to cry. "Anna," Lucas tried again, his voice softer now. "Please, just until the storm passes." She closed her eyes for a moment, as if fighting an internal battle. When she opened them again, there was a mixture of resignation and defiance in her gaze. "Just until the storm passes," she finally agreed, moving towards the car. As she opened the back door for them, Lucas couldn't take his eyes off the older boy. His heart was hammering against his ribs with a certainty he wasn't prepared to face. The storm outside was nothing compared to the storm that was beginning to brew inside. When everyone was inside the car, the silence was deafening, broken only by the sound of the rain against the metal and glass, and the soft breathing of the children. In the rearview mirror, Lucas caught Anna's gaze, a look that said she knew exactly what he was thinking. "Where to?" he asked, his voice hoarse. Anna gave an address a few blocks ahead, and Lucas swallowed as he realized it was one of the poorest neighborhoods in the Bronx. As he drove through the storm, his mind swirled with unasked questions and a growing certainty that threatened to shatter everything he thought he knew about his life. The storm continued to roar outside, but the real storm was just beginning. The worn brick building loomed like a shadow against the stormy sky. Lucas parked the Aston Martin, which stood out in the neighborhood, and watched from the rear-view mirror as Anna whispered words of comfort to the children. The older boy, whose eyes were identical to his own, had fallen asleep, leaning on his little brother's shoulder. "Third floor," Anna said dryly, breaking the silence. "You don't have to go up." "Anna," Lucas began, but she interrupted him. "No, not tonight, Lucas." Her voice trembled slightly. It was hard enough accepting the ride. A particularly loud clap of thunder startled the little 3-year-old out of his sleep. Anna instinctively hugged him tighter, and Lucas noticed the water stains on her waitress uniform. "Let me at least help with the children," he insisted, getting out of the car and opening an umbrella big enough for everyone. Anna hesitated for a moment before reluctantly nodding. Lucas took the younger boy on his lap, while she carried the older one. The contact with the sleeping child awakened something primitive inside him, a protective instinct he had never experienced before. The lobby was dark, lit only by a dim bulb that blinked irregularly. The elevator had an out-of-order sign, forcing them to take the stairs. The smell of mold and food being prepared permeated the room. On the 3rd floor, Anna stopped in front of a door with the number 304, unkempt but clean. Her hands trembled slightly as she searched for the keys. "Lucas," she whispered, still with her back to him, "I know what you're thinking. And yes, Nathan is your son." The impact of those words made Lucas stagger slightly, even though he already suspected the truth. Why didn't you ever tell me?" Anna finally managed to open the door, revealing a small but organized apartment. "You had made your priorities clear 6 years ago," she replied, her voice laden with old hurt. "Wall Street, power, prestige. There was no room for a family in your plans." Lucas followed her into a modest room where 2 small beds took up most of the space. Together, they put the children to bed, still asleep and in damp clothes. "I need to change them," Anna muttered, more to herself than to Lucas. "Anna, I have the right to—" "The right." She turned sharply, her eyes blazing. "What right, Lucas? The right you gave up when you said that our relationship was getting in the way of your professional advancement? Or perhaps the right you lost when you ignored my calls for the next few weeks?" Lucas felt each word like a stab. "I didn't know." "Of course you didn't know. I found out I was pregnant 2 weeks after you broke things off. I tried to tell you, but you were too busy closing that merger with the Morrisons to take my calls." The memory of that time hit Lucas full force. The Morrison merger, the deal that put him on the Wall Street map. How many calls had he ignored? How many emails left unanswered? "Robert Yalbaugh," Anna continued, her voice softening at the mention of his name. "My late husband was the one who was by my side during my pregnancy, who held my hand in childbirth, who gave Nathan his surname and loved him like his own son." "Robert?" Lucas asked, vaguely remembering hearing about a financial scam that had ruined a small businessman in the Bronx. "Robert Martinez?" Anna's face paled. "So you know. Do you know what his associates did to him? How they destroyed him? How he—" Her voice failed her and she leaned against the wall, the tears finally overcoming her resistance. Lucas took a step towards her, but she held up her hand, keeping him at a distance. "Please go away," she whispered. "We've had enough destruction for one lifetime." Lucas looked at Nathan, sleeping peacefully, oblivious to the drama unfolding. His son, his own blood. The truth choked him. "I can't just leave now, Anna. Not after knowing." "Yes, you can," she interrupted him, wiping away the tears with the back of her hand. "That's what you do best, isn't it? Leave when things get too complicated." The words hit him like a slap. Through the window, the storm continued its show of fury, as if mirroring the maelstrom inside. "Tomorrow," he said firmly. "I'll be back tomorrow. We need to talk about this." Anna didn't answer. She just turned to the children, starting to change out of her wet clothes. Lucas stood in the doorway for a few more seconds, absorbing the domestic scene he had never imagined could be his, before forcing himself to leave. Walking down the stairs, each step seemed to weigh a ton. Guilt, regret, and a growing anger at himself threatened to suffocate him. In the car, his hands were shaking so badly that he could barely get the key into the ignition. "My son," he muttered to himself, the words sounding strange in his mouth. "I have a son." The rain continued to fall, but Lucas hardly noticed. His mind was filled with images. Nathan's eyes, identical to his own, the modest apartment where his son was growing up. Robert Martinez's name on a financial report he had signed without a second thought. That night, for the first time in years, Lucas Bennett cried. The next morning dawned with blinding clarity that contrasted dramatically with the storm of the night before. Lucas hadn't slept. Sitting in his private office in the penthouse of his Upper East Side apartment, he frantically rummaged through old files on his computer. Robert Martinez, he muttered as he scrolled through hundreds of documents. Finally, he found what he was looking for, a memo dated 18 months ago. His stomach churned as he read the details. The Phoenix Project, as it had been cynically named, was an elaborate scheme to absorb small businesses in the Bronx. Robert Martinez, owner of a thriving local restaurant chain, had been just one of many targets. "Damn you, Victor," Lucas cursed, remembering how his partner, Victor Blackwood, had conducted the operation. The intercom rang, interrupting his dark thoughts. "Mr. Bennett," Regina's voice sounded as professional as ever. "Mr. Blackwood is here for the 9 a.m. meeting." Lucas looked at his reflection in the turned-off monitor. Deep dark circles marked his face, and his unshaven beard gave him a sloppy look that didn't match his usual impeccable appearance. "Send him in," he replied, quickly putting away the compromising documents. Victor Blackwood entered the room with his usual excessive confidence. Tall, always impeccably dressed, with a smile that never reached his cold eyes. "Lucas, my friend," he exclaimed, holding out his hand. "You look like you've had a rough night." Lucas ignored the outstretched hand. "Sit down, Victor. We need to talk about the Phoenix Project." Victor's smile faltered for a moment. "Water under the bridge, Lucas. That was over a year ago." "Robert Martinez." Lucas said the name slowly. "Tell me about him." Victor relaxed visibly. The little restaurateur. A sad case, really. But business is business. He didn't know how to play the game. "He killed himself, Victor," Lucas said between his teeth. "After you destroyed everything he'd built." "Correction. He killed himself after he couldn't pay off the debts he'd incurred himself," Victor replied coldly. "We just facilitated the process." Lucas felt bile rise in his throat. He had a family. Everyone does. Victor shrugged. "But you never cared about these details before, Lucas. What's changed?" The image of Nathan's eyes, his own eyes, flashed through his mind. "Everything," he answered simply. Victor leaned forward, his eyes narrowing. "Does this have anything to do with your little excursion to the Bronx last night?" Lucas froze. "How did you—" "Please." Victor laughed humorlessly. "Do you think I don't monitor my senior partner's movements? Especially when he starts asking inconvenient questions about past operations? You spy on me. I protect myself," Victor corrected. "And I protect our investors. Speaking of which, that woman you met yesterday, Ana Martinez, isn't it? The widow. Interesting coincidence." The threatening tone in Victor's voice made Lucas's blood run cold. "Stay away from her," he warned. "Or what?" Victor smiled, standing up. "Are you going to throw away everything we've built because of some belated attack of conscience? For a woman you yourself abandoned years ago?" Lucas stood up too, his hands shaking with anger. "You don't know anything." "I know more than you think," Victor replied, walking to the door. "For example, I know about a certain 5-year-old boy with very familiar eyes." He stopped at the door, turning around one last time. "Think carefully about what you do next, Lucas. There's a lot at stake here." After Victor left, Lucas collapsed into his chair, his mind spinning. He picked up his mobile and dialed a number he had memorized the night before. "Anna, we need to talk. Now. It's about Victor Blackwood." On the other end of the line, there was a moment of tense silence before Anna answered, "Meet me at the cafe on the corner of 167th in an hour. And Lucas, come alone." Hanging up the phone, Lucas opened his drawer and took out a USB stick that he had kept for years as collateral. On it was all the evidence of Victor's questionable operations, including Project Phoenix. "No more games," he muttered to himself, putting the USB stick back in his pocket. As he rode down the private elevator, Lucas knew he was about to destroy everything he had built up over the last 15 years. His fortune, his reputation, his financial empire. Everything was at risk. But for the first time in his life, as he thought of his son's face, he felt that he was finally doing the right thing. The war with Victor Blackwood had only just begun, and Lucas knew it would be a dirty battle. But now he had something to fight for that was worth more than all the money in the world. A chance at redemption. The cafe on the corner of 167th Street was a modest establishment, with worn tiles and a peeling sign that announced Joe's Coffee and Diner in dull letters. Lucas arrived 15 minutes before the agreed time, choosing a table at the back that offered a clear view of the entrance and the street. His platinum Rolex and Italian suit stood out grotesquely from the surroundings, attracting curious glances from the regulars. An elderly waitress, and whose badge identified her as Dorothy, approached with a bottle of coffee. "You're not from around here," she commented, as she filled her cup. "That obvious." Lucas tried to smile, but the gesture came out strained. "Darling, in this neighborhood we can spot a Wall Street shark from miles away," Dorothy replied with a knowing look. "Usually when you show up, someone loses their home or business." The words hit Lucas like a punch in the gut. Before he could reply, the cafe door opened and Anna walked in, still wearing her waitress uniform from another restaurant. Her eyes scanned the room until they found him. "Good morning, Dorothy," Anna greeted the waitress as she sat down. "The usual, please." "Same time, dear," Dorothy replied affectionately, casting one last suspicious glance at Lucas before walking away. "The children?" Lucas asked, breaking the tense silence. "At school," Anna replied dryly. "Nathan at preschool and Miguel at the community nursery." "Now, what did you find out about Victor Blackwood?" Lucas pulled the USB stick out of his pocket and placed it on the table. "Everything is here. Every scheme. Every manipulation. Including the Phoenix project that destroyed Robert." Anna's hands trembled slightly as she picked up the device. "Why are you giving me this?" "Because Victor knows about Nathan," Lucas said quietly, leaning forward. "And he's not the kind of man to pass up an opportunity to use information as a weapon." Anna paled. Dorothy returned at that moment with a cup of chamomile tea and a blueberry muffin, giving Anna time to regain her composure. "What exactly are you suggesting?" she asked after Dorothy had walked away again. "That you need protection," Lucas replied, his eyes meeting hers. "Victor is dangerous. Anna, what happened with Robert wasn't just business. It was calculated, methodical, and now that he knows about our connection—" "Our connection?" Anna interrupted bitterly. "You mean the son you never knew existed until yesterday?" Lucas absorbed the blow in silence, knowing that he deserved every word. "Anna, I know I don't deserve your forgiveness or your trust," he continued after a moment. "But this is bigger than both of us now. It's about protecting Nathan and Miguel." "How do you intend to do that?" she asked, her voice softer at the mention of the children. "First, you need to move. I have a safe apartment in Brooklyn." "No," Anna cut in firmly. "I'm not going to let you buy us out, Lucas. That's not how it works." "Then tell me how it works," he exploded, louder than he had intended, attracting stares. Lowering his voice, he continued, "Tell me what to do, Anna. How to fix this. How can we protect our son?" The word "our" hung between them like an unexploded bomb. Anna closed her eyes for a moment, and Lucas could see the weight of worry on her face. "Nathan asked about you this morning," she finally said, opening her eyes. For the first time, he wanted to know who the man in the nice car was. Lucas's heart squeezed. "What did you tell him?" "The truth, that you're someone from my past who's trying to be part of our present." Just then, Lucas's cell phone vibrated. It was a message from Victor. "Emergency board meeting in 1 hour. Your presence is mandatory. Don't do anything stupid." "He's moving the pieces," Lucas muttered, showing Anna the message. "What are you going to do?" Lucas looked out of the cafe window, observing the people passing by. Workers, mothers with children, the elderly, ordinary people living their lives, oblivious to the machinations taking place in the glass towers of Manhattan. "I'm going to do what I should have done 6 years ago," he replied, turning his gaze to Anna. "I'm going to choose what really matters." He took his wallet out of his pocket and began to write something on a card. "This is the address of a lawyer in Queens, Go, Matthew Chen. He has all the documents needed to expose Victor and the corporation. If anything happens to me—" "Lucas," Anna interrupted him, genuinely alarmed now. "What are you talking about?" "Just promise you'll look for him if I don't get in touch by the end of the day," he insisted, sliding the card over to her. Anna took the card reluctantly. "You've really changed, haven't you?" Lucas stood up, leaving some notes on the table. "Maybe I just remembered who I was before I let Wall Street turn me into something I don't recognize anymore." Before leaving, he stopped next to her. "Anna, tell Nathan that his father is going to do the right thing this time, As he walked towards his car, Lucas could feel Anna's gaze on his back. The board meeting would be his last battle on Wall Street, and he was ready to sacrifice everything he had built up over the last 15 years. Because some things, he finally understood, are worth more than all the money in the world. The panoramic elevator rose silently through the 60 floors of Bennett and Blackwood Investment Corp. Lucas watched the city through the glass, remembering how many times he had admired its concrete and steel kingdom from that same perspective. Today, however, Manhattan looked like a prison of skyscrapers. His phone vibrated. A message from Anna. "Be careful. Nathan needs you alive." Those simple words strengthened his resolve. When the elevator doors opened on the top floor, Lucas already knew exactly what he needed to do. The boardroom was complete. 12 of the most powerful men on Wall Street sat around the solid mahogany table, with Victor at the head, all wearing expensive suits and serious expressions, like crows awaiting an execution. "Ah, Lucas," Victor smiled his shark smile. "How nice of you to join us. We were just discussing your peculiar situation." Lucas immediately realized that something was wrong. The advisors avoided his gaze, except for Howard Thorne, the oldest of them, who watched him with something close to pity. "My situation?" Lucas asked, standing up. Victor slid a folder across the table. "Some documents have come to light. Very interesting documents about certain questionable decisions you've made in recent years." Lucas opened the folder and his blood ran cold. There were copies of transactions he had made, but altered to make it look like he had embezzled company funds. It was a trap, and he had fallen right into it. "This is forged," he said calmly, closing the folder. "The board doesn't seem to think so," Victor replied, his smile widening. "In fact, they've just voted you out of the CEO position immediately." "You can't do that," Lucas argued, looking at every face around the table. "I built this company." "We did," Victor corrected, "and now I'm protecting our legacy from your recent distractions." Lucas felt a wave of fury surge through his body, but forced himself to remain calm. Slowly, he pulled his own USB stick out of his pocket. "Before you make any decisions," he said, connecting the device to the room's projector, "perhaps you should see this." The lights went out automatically as the first images appeared on the screen. Documents, emails, audio recordings, all the evidence Lucas had collected over the years about Victor's illegal activities, including Project Phoenix. "This is just the tip of the iceberg," Lucas continued, his voice cutting through the shocked silence in the room. "I have copies of all this in various safe places. If anything happens to me or my family, it all goes straight to the SEC and the FBI. Victor stood up abruptly, his face red with anger. "You're bluffing." "Test me," Lucas replied coldly. "You threatened my son, Victor. Did you really think I wouldn't have a plan B?" The silence in the room was deafening. Howard Thorne snorted, adjusting his glasses. "I think we need to reconsider our position," he said calmly. "Mr. Blackwood, do you have anything to say for yourself?" Victor looked around the table, realizing that he had lost the support of the board. "You don't understand," he said desperately. "Everything I did was for the good of the company." "No," Lucas interrupted him. "It was for your greed, and you ended up destroying lives in the process." Turning to the board, Lucas continued, "Gentlemen, I accept my resignation as CEO, but with a few conditions. First, Victor Blackwood must be removed from all his positions in the company. Second, a compensation fund must be established for all victims of Project Phoenix and similar schemes." Howard Thorne nodded slowly. "That sounds reasonable. Anything else?" Lucas looked directly at Victor. "Yes. I want legal guarantees that Victor Blackwood will never go near the Martinez family again." "You're throwing away everything we've built," Victor shouted, knocking over his chair as he stood up. "For a waitress and a kid you didn't even know existed until yesterday." "No," Lucas replied calmly. "I'm finally doing the right thing." The next 2 hours were a blur of legal documents and negotiations. When Lucas finally left the building, it was late afternoon. His empire had crumbled, but he felt lighter than he had in years. He picked up his phone and typed a message to Anna. "It's done. You're safe now." The reply came almost immediately. "Nathan asked if you'd like to have dinner with us tonight. Nothing fancy, just pasta and meatballs." Lucas smiled, tears welling up in his eyes. "I'd be honored," he replied. As he drove towards the Bronx, the sun was setting over Manhattan, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Behind him, The glass towers that had once been his kingdom shone in the evening light, but for the first time in his life, Lucas Bennett didn't look in the rearview mirror. His future lay ahead, in a modest apartment in the Bronx, where a 5-year-old boy with his eyes was waiting for him for dinner. The smell of homemade tomato sauce filled the small apartment when Lucas knocked on the door of 304. His arms carried a brown teddy bear, a last-minute purchase that now seemed inappropriate. Before he could rethink his decision, the door opened. Miguel, Anna's youngest son, peeked out from behind his mother's legs with childlike curiosity. His dark eyes, so similar to Anna's, immediately fixed on the bear. "Come in," Anna said softly, a slight smile playing on her lips at the sight of the gift. "Nathan's finishing his homework." The apartment looked different in the daylight. Small, yes, but cozy. Pictures on the walls told silent stories. Nathan on his first day at school, Miguel learning to walk, Anna and Robert on happier days. Lucas felt a twinge of guilt when he saw Robert's genuine smile in one of the photos, the man who had been a father when he wasn't around. "I brought this," Lucas said awkwardly, offering the bear to Miguel, who accepted it with a shy smile before running off to show his new treasure to his brother. "You didn't have to," Anna commented, returning to the kitchen where a pot was bubbling away on the stove. "I know," Lucas replied, following her, "but I wanted to—" He was interrupted by the arrival of Nathan, who stopped at the entrance to the kitchen, studying him with an intensity that only a 5-year-old can manage. Miguel was right behind him, still hugging the bear. "Mom says you're my real dad," Nathan declared without preamble. Lucas felt his heart stop for a moment. He looked at Anna, who nodded slightly, encouraging him to answer. "Yes," he said, kneeling down so that he was at the boy's height. "I am. Where were you?" The simple question carried the weight of 5 years' absence. Lucas swallowed, aware that his answer could define his relationship with his son. "I was lost," he answered honestly. "Lost in a world that I thought was important but wasn't. I only realized that when I saw you. Nathan processed the information with the seriousness of a judge. "Like in the book Mom reads, about the prodigal son." Anna let out a soft laugh as she stirred the sauce. "He pays attention in Sunday school," she explained. "Yes," Lucas smiled. "Something like that. But I'm here now. If you'll let me be part of your life." Nathan seemed to consider the offer. "Do you know how to play baseball?" "I know a little. Papa Robert taught me, but—" The boy's voice faltered slightly. "He went to heaven before he taught me how to hit properly." Lucas felt his heart squeeze. "I'd love to help you with that, if you want." "Okay," Nathan replied simply, before turning to Miguel. "Come on, let's show Bear where he'll sleep." The new bear apparently already had a name. When the children left, Lucas stood up to find Anna watching him with a complex expression. "You did well," she said, turning her attention back to her food. "Anna," Lucas began, approaching the kitchen counter. "About today." "I know," she interrupted him. "I saw it on the news. Wall Street earthquake. Bennett and Blackwood CEO resigns amid corporate scandal. Bondi. I don't regret it," he said firmly. "For the first time in years, I feel I did the right thing." Anna stopped stirring the sauce and turned to face him. "And now I'd like to try to be the father Nathan deserves. And maybe," he hesitated, "maybe in time you can forgive me." "It's not that simple, Lucas," she sighed. "I can't just forget." She was interrupted by an excited shout coming from the children's room, followed by laughter. The sound seemed to melt something in Anna's expression. "But we can try," she added softly. For them, dinner was surprisingly natural. Nathan bombarded Lucas with questions about baseball and his favorite teams. Miguel, although quieter, occasionally offered his new bear to share the food. Anna watched everything with a mixture of caution and hope. When it was time to leave, Lucas found himself reluctant to leave. At the door, Nathan surprised him with a sudden hug. "Will you come back tomorrow?" he asked, his eyes, Lucas' eyes, shining with hope. "If your mother allows," Lucas replied, looking at Anna. "At 4, she said. "After school. Maybe we can go to the park, practice some baseball." On the way to his now very empty apartment on the Upper East Side, Lucas reflected on how drastically his life had changed in just 2 days. He had lost his corporate empire, his reputation on Wall Street, billions in stocks and futures contracts, but for the first time since he could remember, he felt truly rich. His phone vibrated with a message from Anna. Nathan is already planning where to hang the baseball glove you haven't bought yet. Lucas smiled. Already planning a visit to the sporting goods store in the morning. Some things, he was learning, were priceless. And as night fell over New York, in a modest apartment in the Bronx, a bear called Bear watched two children sleep, guarding their dreams of a family that was slowly beginning to heal. Saturday morning dawned with a gentle spring breeze. 2 weeks had passed since the pasta dinner, and Lucas was adjusting to his new routine. The Bronx Park baseball field was almost empty when he arrived, carrying a complete new outfit: gloves, balls, bats, and even small uniforms for Nathan and Miguel. "You're going to ruin them," Anna commented, approaching with the children. She was wearing simple jeans and a white t-shirt, her hair tied up in a casual ponytail, so different from the ambitious executive Lucas had met years ago, and yet prettier than he remembered. "Papa Lucas," Miguel shouted, running towards him. The newly adopted title still made Lucas' heart skip a beat every time he heard it. Nathan followed more slowly, his eyes fixed on the new equipment. "Are they all ours?" he asked reverently. "All yours," Lucas confirmed, starting to unpack the material. "I thought we could make a special day of it today. Maybe even—" He was interrupted by the sound of heels approaching on the gravel path. Regina, his former executive assistant, was walking towards him with a grave expression. "Mr. Bennett," she said formally, "we need to talk." Lucas felt Anna tense up beside him. "Regina, today is not a good time." "It's about Victor Blackwood," Regina insisted, casting a meaningful glance at Anna and the children, "and about Robert Martinez." The silence that followed was as heavy as lead. Anna bent down, whispering something to the children. "Nathan, take your brother to the playground over there," she said softly. "Mommy and Papa Lucas need to talk to the girl." After the children had gone, Regina took an envelope out of her bag. "I found this while cleaning out his old office. Victor had a secret file on Robert Martinez. It wasn't just business, Mr. Bennett. It was personal." Lucas opened the envelope with trembling hands. Photos, documents, detailed reports. A complete investigation into Robert and Anna dating back 6 years. "He knew," Anna whispered, looking over Lucas' shoulder. "Victor knew about Nathan from the beginning. Robert's fall was no accident," Regina explained. "Victor found out about your pregnancy, Mrs. Martinez, and saw an opportunity. He manipulated everything: the loans, the audits, even the health inspectors who closed Robert's restaurants." Lucas felt nauseous as he read the details of Victor's plan. "Why?" he asked, more to himself than to Regina. "Power," Regina answered simply. "He always wanted total control of the company. A potential heir to Lucas Bennett was a threat to his plans." Anna took a few steps away, her hands covering her mouth. "Robert died because of me," she said, her voice embittered. "Because of my past with Lucas." "No," Lucas said firmly, reaching for her. "Robert died because Victor is a monster. None of this is your fault." "There's more," Regina continued. "Victor is planning something. He's been holding secret meetings with some disgruntled investors. I think he's going to try to take back control of the company." "Let him try," Lucas replied, his voice harsh. "I have enough evidence to—" "For what?" Anna interrupted him. "For more destruction, more revenge. When is this going to end, Lucas?" Miguel's joyful shout in the playground caught their attention. The children were playing, oblivious to the drama that was unfolding. "I need to protect you," Lucas said softly. "No," Anna replied, touching his arm lightly. "We need to protect them, and we can't do that by continuing this cycle of revenge." Regina sniffed discreetly. "There is a way," she said, taking another document from her briefcase. "Victor made a mistake. He used company money for his personal vendetta against Robert. If we present this to the board, he would be legally removed," Lucas added. "No scandal, no retaliation." "So?" Anna asked. "Would you go back to Wall Street?" Lucas looked at the playground, where Nathan was teaching Miguel to slide. He thought of all the mornings he had spent in his penthouse office, admiring the city that now seemed so distant and meaningless. "No," he finally answered. "That life is over. But I need to make sure that Victor can't hurt our family anymore." Anna studied him for a long moment before nodding. "Our family," she repeated softly, as if testing the words. "Mr. Bennett?" Regina called out. "What should I do with these documents?" Lucas looked at Anna's, who took his hand and gave it a gentle squeeze. "Do what needs to be done," he replied, "but discreetly. These children have already lost a father. I won't let them lose their innocence too. Regina nodded and walked away, her heels clacking on the gravel. Lucas and Anna remained silent for a moment, watching the children play. You know, Anna finally said, we still have a whole day ahead of us and a lot of new baseball equipment. Lucas smiled, feeling the weight on his chest ease a little. Nathan, he called out. Come here, champ. Time to learn some pitches. As he taught his son how to hold the baseball correctly, with Miguel jumping excitedly around them and Anna watching with a gentle smile, Lucas realized that some battles are worth fighting not for revenge, but for love. And there, under the morning sun in the Bronx, between laughter and awkward pitches, a family began to heal old wounds, one baseball at a time. The news exploded on an ordinary Wednesday. Victor Blackwood dismissed from Bennett and Blackwood for financial irregularities. The financial newspapers were buzzing with speculation, but on the streets of the Bronx, life went on as usual. Lucas watched the fine rain through the window of apartment 304, where he spent more and more time. The smell of freshly brewed coffee and cinnamon toast filled the room. It was the day of a meeting with Nathan's teacher, and Anna was nervously fixing her son's shirt collar for the third time. Mom, it's fine now, Nathan protested, dodging her hands. Leave him alone, Anna. Lucas smiled, adjusting his own tie. He had learned to dress more casually so as not to attract attention in the neighborhood. But today was different. Today was his first official appearance as Nathan's father at school. Miguel, still in his pajamas, was playing with Bear on the sofa. I want to go too, he muttered for the 10th time. Tomorrow is your meeting day at the nursery. Little one, Anna reminded him, kissing his forehead. Grandma Dorothy is staying with you today. As if summoned, Dorothy, the cafe waitress who had become a constant presence in their lives, knocked on the door. Over the last few months, she had become a kind of fake grandmother to the children. I've brought blueberry muffins, she announced, entering with a covered basket. Her eyes met Lucas's. I saw the papers today. Are you all right? Lucas nodded. Victor's downfall had been clean and final, thanks to Regina's documents. There was no scandal, no retaliation, just the quiet end of an era of corruption. We're going to be late, Anna reminded, picking up her bag. Nathan, grab your backpack. PS 118 was a typical Bronx public school, with its red bricks and bars on the windows. As they walked through the corridors decorated with children's artwork, Lucas noticed the curious looks from the other parents and staff. The teacher, Mrs. Martinez, no relation to Anna, she had quickly clarified, welcomed them with a professional smile. Mr. and Mrs. Martinez, it's a pleasure. Bennett, Anna corrected gently. Mr. Bennett is Nathan's biological father. A moment of understanding flashed across the teacher's face. Oh, yes, Nathan recently mentioned that his father had returned. Lucas felt his heart squeeze. The simplicity with which his son had announced his return, as if there had always been a place waiting for him. Nathan is an exceptional student, Mrs. Martinez continued, showing him some work, especially in math, but I've noticed some changes in his behavior over the last few weeks. Anna tensed visibly. What kind of changes? Positive, for the most part. The teacher smiled. He's more participative, more confident, but he's also more protective of his classmates. Last week, he stood up for a boy who was being bullied in the playground. Lucas couldn't help the pride he felt. Did he mention that? He said that his papa Lucas taught him that we should protect those who need help, the teacher replied, watching Lucas' reaction carefully. Anna reached under the table for Lucas' hand and squeezed it lightly. It was the first time she had shown this kind of affection in public since her return. After the meeting, as they walked home, Nathan between them, holding their hands, Lucas broke the silence. Anna, I was thinking, there's a small building for sale 2 blocks from here. The first floor would be perfect for a restaurant. She stopped walking, looking at him in surprise. Lucas, it's not charity, he hastened to explain. It's an investment in your talent, in your experience. Robert wasn't the only one with a vision for business in this family. Papa Lucas is going to buy a restaurant, Nathan asked excitedly. Can I help like I helped Papa Robert? Anna knelt down in front of her son. Baby, it's not that simple. Why not? Lucas interrupted gently. Anna, you work in 3 different places. I have the capital to invest. You have the knowledge and experience. We could create something together, something to leave to the children. Anna stood up slowly, her eyes watering. The last time someone believed in me like that, it was Robert, Lucas added, and he was right to believe it. Let me do this. Anna, not to redeem myself, not to make up for anything, but because I believe in you. Nathan looked from one to the other, still holding their hands, like a physical bridge between past and present. Okay, Anna finally said, a smile trembling on her lips, but I choose the menu. And I can be the waiter, Nathan exclaimed. Lucas laughed, pulling them both into a hug. School first, champ. Then we'll think about your career in catering. As they walked home, where Miguel and Dorothy would probably have turned the kitchen into a battlefield of flour and muffins by now, Lucas thought about how life takes turns. A few months ago, he measured success in millions of dollars and closed contracts. Now his heart was filled with joy at school grades, sneaky hugs, and the promise of a small restaurant in the Bronx. Papa Lucas, Nathan called out. Can I tell Miguel about the restaurant? Of course you can, son, he replied, the word son flowing naturally now. Anna intertwined her fingers with his as they walked up the stairs of the building. You've really changed, she whispered. No, Lucas corrected. I just found my way back to who I should always have been. The sound of Miguel's laughter and the smell of muffins greeted them as they opened the door to 304, and Lucas knew, with a certainty he had never felt on Wall Street, that he was finally home. Autumn was painting the streets of the Bronx in golden hues when Sabores de Casa opened its doors. The small restaurant, with its warm-toned walls and rustic wooden tables, quickly became a neighborhood meeting place. Anna ran the kitchen with the same precision as Lucas had once run council meetings, while Dorothy supervised the salon with her motherly efficiency. On that particular October evening, Lucas was adjusting the knot of Nathan's bow tie, who had insisted on wearing a proper uniform for his first official evening as a junior waiter's assistant, a title he had invented himself. Remember what we agreed? Lucas asked, straightening the small apron that Anna had sewn especially for the occasion. I can only carry empty plates, no drinks, and I have to do my homework first, Nathan recited solemnly. Miguel, wearing an apron identical to his brother's, jumped around them. I want to help too. You're our official taster, remember? Anna smiled, emerging from the kitchen with flour on her face. Now come on, you two. I need your opinion on the new bread pudding. Lucas watched his family disappear into the kitchen, the sounds of laughter and teasing echoing through the still empty restaurant. He checked his watch. It was an hour before opening. His phone vibrated in his pocket. A message from Regina. It just appeared in the WSJ. Victor Blackwood has left the country. Sources say he's in the Caribbean. Thought you'd like to know. He reread the message several times before deleting it. The past was finally where it should be, in the past. Papa Lucas, Miguel's voice brought him back to the present. Come and have a taste. Mom put extra cinnamon in it. The opening night was a success beyond expectations. The small restaurant was packed, mainly with residents of the neighborhood, curious to try the food that Anna used to make in Robert's old establishment. Nathan took his work with impressive seriousness for a 6-year-old, proudly collecting empty plates and distributing smiles. Miguel alternated between supervising the kitchen and charming the customers with his natural charisma. Near midnight, when the last customers had left and Dorothy insisted on doing the final cleanup, Lucas found Anna sitting on the back stairs, looking up at the stars. Penny for your thoughts, he said softly, taking a seat next to her. Robert would love all this, she replied after a moment. He always said I should have my own place. Lucas felt the familiar tightness in his chest that always accompanied mentions of Robert. He was right about a lot of things. You know what else he was right about. Anna turned to face him. He said that one day I would learn to forgive, not for you, but for myself. Lucas held her hand, feeling the rough texture of small kitchen burns. Anna, let me finish, she asked softly. I've spent so long angry, at you, at the world, even at myself. But today, seeing Nathan so proud in his little uniform, Miguel charming everyone with his smile, you building something not with money but with love, I realized that Robert was right. Silent tears streamed down her face, but she smiled. Forgiveness doesn't erase the past, Lucas, but it allows us to build a future. Lucas felt his own eyes water. I don't deserve. It's not about deserving, she interrupted him. It's about choosing, and I choose to believe that people can change, that love can heal, that families can be rebuilt. From inside the restaurant came the sound of children's laughter. Nathan probably trying to teach Miguel how to fold napkins, as Dorothy had shown him earlier. Mommy, Papa Lucas, Miguel called out. Nathan's doing it wrong. No, I'm not, the older man's indignant voice replied. Anna laughed. wiping away her tears. Duty calls. Before she could get up, Lucas gently took her arm. Anna, I love you. I've never stopped loving, even when I was too lost to realize it. She studied him for a long moment, her eyes reflecting the stars above. Then, slowly, she leaned in and kissed him. A soft kiss, tasting of forgiveness and promises. I know, she whispered against his lips. Now let's stop our children from destroying all the napkins in the restaurant. When they entered, they found Nathan trying to teach Miguel how to make a paper swan, while Dorothy pretended not to see the mess they were making. The small radio in the kitchen was playing old music, and the smell of cinnamon still hung in the air. Lucas watched the scene, etching every detail into his memory. This was his real empire now, built not with contracts and shares, but with laughter, hugs, and second chances. Papa Lucas, Miguel ran up to him, holding something that should have been a swan but looked more like a crumpled airplane. Look what I've done. It's perfect, champ, Lucas smiled, picking it up. And there, in the little restaurant in the Bronx under Anna's loving gaze and the laughter of their children, Lucas Bennett finally understood the true meaning of wealth. A year later, Sabores de Casa was closed for a special event on that sunny fall Sunday. Garlands of white flowers decorated the walls, and the tables had been rearranged to create a small makeshift altar near the main window. Lucas was adjusting the tie of Nathan, now 7, who took his role as best man extremely seriously. Miguel, aged 4, was rehearsing his way down the makeshift aisle for the 100th time, carrying a cushion with the rings. Papa Lucas, Nathan called out, his voice betraying nervousness. What if I forget the words? No words to memorize, champ. Lucas smiled, straightening his son's small suit. You just have to stand next to me and smile. Like when we close an important deal, Nathan asked, making Lucas laugh at the boy's serious expression. Exactly, but this is the most important deal of all. Dorothy burst into the back room, her eyes already watering. It's time, kids. Lucas, Anna's ready. The restaurant was full, but not with the usual neighborhood clientele. A few Wall Street faces mingled with the Bronx neighbors. Regina, Howard Thorne, former colleagues who had chosen to keep in touch even after Lucas left the corporate world, but the majority were people who had become family over the last year, regular customers of the restaurant, parents of the children's friends, the community that had welcomed them. The music started, not the traditional wedding march, but a soft Latin song that Anna loved. Miguel entered first, concentrating on his important mission with the rings. Nathan followed, walking beside Lucas with his chest puffed out with pride. Then Anna appeared, and the world stopped. Her dress was simple, a vintage model in shades of ivory that Dorothy had helped her choose. But it wasn't the dress that made everyone hold their breath. It was the smile on her face, the light in her eyes, the certainty in her step. When she reached the makeshift altar, Miguel couldn't resist running to hug her legs, making everyone laugh. Nathan, keeping his serious posture, gently pulled his brother back to his seat. The justice of the peace, a regular at the restaurant, smiled at the little family before starting the ceremony. We are here today not just to celebrate a union, he began, but to witness the completion of a circle, a love story that needed time, growth, forgiveness, and 2 little masters of ceremony to find its true path. Lucas held Anna's hands, feeling the slight tremor in her fingers. Lucas Bennett, she began her vows, her voice firm, despite the tears in her eyes. You've already given me the 2 greatest gifts anyone could ever receive, our children. Nathan, who carries your eyes and your gentle heart, and Miguel, who you chose to love as your own, just as Robert loved Nathan. Today, I give you the only gift I can offer in return, a new beginning. Lucas took a deep breath, fighting the emotion in his own voice. Ana Martinez, he began, you taught me that true wealth is not measured in dollars or shares. It's measured in Sunday morning smiles, baseball lessons in the park, little personalized aprons, and forgiveness. You and our children are my north, my south, my east and west, my true home. Miguel chose that moment to announce loudly, now it's the kissing part. Laughter filled the restaurant as Nathan tried unsuccessfully to get his brother to be quiet. The justice of the peace smiled. Well, I guess that's my cue. By the power vested in me, I pronounce you man and wife. And yes, Miguel, now it's time for the kiss. Lucas pulled Anna into his arms, sealing his lips to hers in a kiss that tasted of the promise of all the tomorrows to come. The children rushed to join in the embrace, turning the solemn moment into an impromptu family celebration. During the small reception that followed, with Latin music playing and the aroma of the special food Anna had prepared filling the air, Lucas watched his family dance. Nathan trying to teach Miguel the steps Dorothy had shown him, Anna laughing as she twirled with the boys, the neighbors and friends celebrating with the simplicity and warmth that characterized the Bronx. Regina approached, holding a glass of champagne. "You know," she commented, "that office in the penthouse is still empty." Lucas smiled, watching Anna take Miguel on her lap while Nathan demonstrated his new dance moves. "I don't miss it." "I know," Regina smiled back. "You've finally found something that Wall Street could never offer." "Papa Lucas," Miguel shouted from the middle of the makeshift dance floor. "Come dance. Dever calls me." Lucas winked at Regina before joining his family. As he spun around with Anna in his arms, with Nathan and Miguel dancing around them, Lucas thought about how life sometimes has to take us down tortuous paths to bring us exactly where we should be. There, in the small restaurant in the Bronx with the sound of laughter and Latin music, the smell of homemade food and love in the air, Lucas Bennett, once a Wall Street titan, now simply a man in love with his family, was finally complete. And when Anna whispered, "I love you," in his ear, he knew that all the fortunes he had ever possessed could not compare to this moment, because some treasures can't be measured in dollars. They are measured in smiles, hugs, and second chances, in small neighborhood restaurants and impromptu dances, in rebuilt families and rediscovered love, at home. 5 years later, the aroma of freshly brewed coffee mingled with the smell of fresh bread at Sabores de Casa 2, the new branch of the restaurant that had just opened in Manhattan. Anna was supervising the kitchen staff with the same dedication as always, while Lucas was organizing the last details for the official opening that evening. "Mom," Nathan, now 12, burst through the back door still wearing his baseball uniform. "We won the regional championship." Anna dropped the spoon she was holding and hugged her son, not caring about the dust from the field that now stained her white apron. "I knew you'd do it, my love." 9-year-old Miguel entered shortly afterwards, proudly carrying the camera with which he had filmed the entire game. "Papa Lucas, you have to see. Nathan hit an incredible home run in the last inning." Lucas smiled, ruffling his youngest son's hair. Miguel had discovered his passion for photography and videography the previous year, when he had received his first camera as a birthday present. "Let's watch this video then, but first," Lucas paused dramatically. "Does anyone want to break the news to your mother, or should I do that?" Anna raised an eyebrow, looking from one smiling face to another. "What news?" Nathan and Miguel exchanged complicit glances before Nathan said, "The coach said there are college scouts coming to watch me in the next game. And I'm going to film the whole thing," Miguel added enthusiastically. Anna covered her mouth with her hands, her eyes watering. "My God, college! It seems like yesterday you could barely hold a bat." "Speaking of college," Lucas snorted, "there's one more thing." He took an envelope out of his pocket and handed it to Anna. She opened it carefully, her eyes widening as she read. "Lucas, this is an educational foundation," he added, "in the name of Robert Martinez, to help young entrepreneurs in the Bronx realize their dreams." Anna hugged him tightly, the tears now flowing freely. He'd be so proud. "Hey, family!" Dorothy called out from the kitchen door. "The guests have started arriving for the opening." The main hall of the new restaurant was elegant but welcoming, retaining the essence of the original establishment in the Bronx. The walls displayed photographs taken by Miguel, moments from the original restaurant, Nathan's baseball games, portraits of the family and the community. Regina, who had become a constant presence in their lives, arrived with Howard Thorne. Both had left Wall Street to devote themselves to social projects. "This place is amazing," Regina commented, admiring the decor. "The perfect blend of the Bronx and Manhattan. Just like you," Howard added with a smile. The evening went like a dream. Anna and her team served dishes that mixed the home cooking that had made them famous with sophisticated touches that appealed to the Manhattan palate. Nathan and Miguel helped out in the hall, as they had done since they were little, although now Nathan had to bend down less to serve the tables. In a quiet moment, Lucas found Anna on the small balcony overlooking the city. "Thinking about what?" he asked, hugging her from behind. "About how life turns around," she replied, leaning back against him. "6 years ago, when you showed up in that storm, I never would have imagined we'd be here. Do you regret anything?" "Not for a second," she smiled. turning to face him. But I have one more surprise for you. Lucas raised an eyebrow, curious. Remember when you said you wanted a big family? Anna began, taking his hand and placing it on her still flat stomach. Well, Lucas's eyes widened. Yes, she laughed. 2 months pregnant. And before you ask, yes, the boys already know. Miguel is already planning a documentary about the pregnancy. Lucas kissed her deeply, his heart overflowing with joy. When they separated, they heard applause. Nathan and Miguel had met them on the balcony. It finally counted, Miguel exclaimed, his inseparable camera in hand. Are you filming this? Lucas asked, laughing. Of course. It's for the documentary, How Our Family Grew, a Bronx Love Story, Miguel replied with professional seriousness. Nathan slung an arm around his brother's shoulders. He's already got the whole script planned out. Anna looked at her family, the son who carried Lucas' eyes, the son Robert had given her as a gift, the husband who had learned that second chances are sacred, and the new life growing inside her. Do you know what that means? She smiled. We're going to need more personalized aprons. Lucas laughed, pulling everyone into a group hug. Down below, Manhattan shone with its eternal lights. But the real glow was there, on that balcony, where a family built on love, forgiveness, and second chances was celebrating its newest chapter. For the documentary, Miguel said solemnly to his camera, this is proof that the best investments aren't made on the stock exchange. They're made in the heart, Nathan added, making everyone laugh. And as the evening progressed, with the sound of laughter and music rising from the party below, Lucas Bennett, former Wall Street mogul, now restaurateur, father and husband, learned that his greatest achievement was not the empire he left behind, but the legacy of love he had built along the way. Because some fortunes aren't measured in dollars. They are measured in moments like this. 10 years later, Sabres de Casa had grown into a chain of 5 restaurants, each maintaining the family essence that had made them famous. But that spring morning, Lucas was back at the first establishment in the Bronx, sitting at his favorite table, looking at a framed photograph on the wall. The picture, taken by Miguel during his first experiments with photography, showed Robert Martinez smiling in front of his old restaurant. Anna had found the picture in an old box and insisted on giving it a place of honor. Dad? A soft voice brought him out of his thoughts. Sophia, now 9 years old, sat down next to him. She was the surprise that had arrived to complete the family, carrying Anna's dark eyes and Lucas' gentle smile. Thinking about Uncle Robert again? She asked, following his gaze to the photograph. Lucas smiled, impressed by his daughter's insight. Yes, Princess. 20 years ago today he left us. Nathan said he was a hero, Sophia commented, playing with the end of her braid. He was, Lucas confirmed. He looked after his mother and brothers when I wasn't here to do it. The sound of familiar footsteps announced the arrival of Anna, carrying a tray of hot chocolate, Sophia's favorite drink. Look who I found outside. Anna smiled, pointing to the door. Nathan, now 22 and a recent business school graduate, entered accompanied by Miguel, 19, who was carrying his inseparable professional camera. Both had inherited their parents' entrepreneurial spirit, but in different ways. How was the meeting? Lucas asked as his sons joined the table. Approved, Nathan announced with a smile. The board of the Robert Martinez Foundation has approved the expansion project. We'll be able to help twice as many young entrepreneurs next year. The foundation, which had started as a small initiative 10 years ago, had become a powerful force for change in the Bronx, offering scholarships and support to young entrepreneurs. And I finished the documentary, Miguel added, connecting his camera to his tablet. 15 years of history of our family and the neighborhood. Anna sat next to Lucas, intertwining her fingers with his as they watched the first scenes of Miguel's documentary. Images of Robert's old restaurant were mixed with family moments, Nathan at his baseball games, Miguel discovering his passion for photography, the birth of Sophia, the expansion of the business. Mommy, Sophia whispered during a particularly emotional scene. Why are you crying? Because sometimes happiness is so great that it overflows through your eyes. My love, Anna replied, wiping away her tears. Dorothy, who at 80 still insisted on supervising the original restaurant a few times a week, joined them with a tray of her famous blueberry muffins. You know, she commented, taking a seat, Robert used to say that a restaurant isn't just a place to eat. It's a place to create memories. And he was right. Lucas added, looking around at his family. Every table here tells a story. Every recipe carries a piece of who we are. Nathan checked his watch. The first guests for the memorial should arrive in an hour. That evening's event would not only be a tribute to Robert, but a celebration of everything his legacy had inspired: the restaurant chain, the foundation, and above all, the family that had formed from the ashes of his departure. "Miguel," Ana called softly, "did you bring that special photo?" Miguel nodded, taking out a framed photograph from his briefcase. It was the last photo of Robert with Nathan and Miguel young, taken just a few weeks before his death. "I'll put it next to the new one," he said, standing up. The new photo had been taken last Christmas. The whole family gathered at the restaurant, including Dorothy, Regina, and Howard. 3 generations of dreams come true, united by their love of food and each other. Sophia got up to help her brother hang the photos, her small hand reverently touching Robert's image. "Papa," she called, "tell us again the story of how it all began." Lucas exchanged a glance with Ana, who nodded with a soft smile. "Well, Princess, it started on a stormy night, when I finally found my way back home." As Lucas recounted the story that his children already knew by heart, but never tired of hearing, the afternoon sun streamed through the restaurant's windows, creating a play of light and shadows on the photographs on the wall. There were all the pieces of her family puzzle: Robert's serene smile, guardian of his first children; Nathan's determined gaze, now running the foundation that bore his second father's name; Miguel's artistic sensibility, eternalizing their stories through his lens; Sophia's sweetness, born of rediscovered love; and Ana, his Ana, who had taught him that family is not just blood, but choice, forgiveness, and love. Dorothy began humming an old Latin song while pouring more hot chocolate, and soon Sophia joined in, her childish voice blending into the familiar melody. And Lucas Bennett, watching his family gather that late afternoon in the Bronx, knew that some stories don't really have an end. They just continue, passing down from generation to generation, like old recipes or photographs on restaurant walls, like love. If you could go back in time and fix a mistake from the past, but it meant risking losing everything you've achieved in the present, would you make that choice? Leave your opinion in the comments. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the story, please subscribe to our channel and leave a comment below letting us know what you thought. Your feedback and support mean a lot to us. Stay tuned for more exciting stories.